An American essayist, lecturer, philosopher, and poet, Ralph Waldo Emerson, summed it up well with these words: "Good health is the foundation of a happy life. The first wealth is health." This is a reminder that taking care of our mind and body every day brings long-term energy, strength, and inner peace. Welcome to this week's edition of Health and Wellbeing here on ASO TV, channel 392. I am Lami Agbavubo. Today on our program, we turn our attention to an issue that has generated considerable public debate in recent days: the proposed amendment to Nigeria's National Tobacco Control Act. There has been a lot of information and indeed concern surrounding the National Tobacco Control Act Amendment Bill 2025, particularly over what the proposed changes could mean for tobacco and newer nicotine products such as vapes, heated tobacco products, and nicotine pouches. Health and civil society organizations such as Nigeria Tobacco Control Alliance (NTCA) have raised concerns that some provisions could weaken existing safeguards and increase exposure, especially among young Nigerians. The NTCA has held several press conferences, necessary medium seeking to enlighten the public while urging President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to withhold assent to the proposed National Tobacco Control 2025 Amendment Bill. Should the legislation be presented to him for executive approval? As we all know, the effect of tobacco use and its impact is a major public health challenge, and this has led a few people to their early grave. It is important that we continue to enlighten ourselves about the effect or impact of tobacco on our health and environment until it becomes fresh in our consciousness that sometimes our habits are not only harmful to us as individuals, but also to the society and our environment. And it is our collective responsibility to protect our environment for our well-being, beginning with our daily choice of habits, diets, and lifestyle. Studies as reported by the Tobacco Control Data Initiative (TCDI) 2021 indicated that tobacco use claims approximately 29,000 Nigerian lives annually, as tobacco contributes to cancer, health disease, stroke, and oral cancer, among other diseases. This is Health and Wellbeing here on ASO TV channel 392. Please follow, subscribe, like, and share on our YouTube page at ASO Radio and TV. Let us take a short break, and when we come back, you'll get to meet my guests as we begin our conversation. Please stay with us.
Hi everyone, here are some practical tips on what you should do to avoid breast cancer.
Examine your breast on your birthday of each month. For instance, if you're born on the 12th of May, examine your breast every 12th of each month. Get familiar with the shape, the sizes, and the textures of your breast and nipple. Don't forget to check your armpits for lumps.
Reduce the intake of fried foods. The oils used to fry many fried foods release chemicals that can be harmful to your body.
Eat lots of vegetables. This contains the nutrients that your body needs to help fight off diseases.
Tooth and gum diseases have been linked to cancer, memory loss, heart diseases, dementia, and stroke. Make sure you brush at least twice a day, especially before you go to bed. If you can, floss regularly and have your teeth checked at least once every year.
Reduce your exposure to toxins by minimizing your use of hairsprays and deodorants containing aluminum and lead as much as possible.
Avoid smoking.
Exercise regularly, at least 3 times a week.
If you have babies, make sure you breastfeed exclusively for at least 6 months.
As women, you should avoid placing your smartphone in your breast pocket or inside your bra. Some believe that this will emit high levels of radiation, which could lead to breast cancer and other forms of cancer. Secondly, you should avoid or limit your intake of highly processed foods, aka junk foods, as they contain toxins that are harmful to the body.
Welcome back. To speak to us on the proposed legislation tobacco bill are two eminent tobacco control campaign champions who are passionate about the need to break it down for the general public to understand and bring everyone to the drawing board for the best results, because a tobacco-free society is possible. I have with me here in the studio Programs Officer, Nigeria Tobacco Control Alliance, Dr. Bilques Yusuf, and Mr. Emmanuel Onwuka is the Communications Officer, Nigeria Tobacco Control Alliance. We are here to discuss the need to strengthen tobacco control measures to address emerging public health issues. Welcome, Dr. Bilques.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely having you here again. Okay, so let's get right into this conversation. Looking at the Tobacco Control Amendment Bill before the House, what should we expect?
Well, I'm going to start by giving us a bit of an insight into the Act, the Nigerian Tobacco Control Act of 2015. What that does is to ensure that the tobacco and related products, it's not directly in front of our young persons or even within our society, by preventing advertisement, increasing taxation so that it's not affordable for people to be able to buy, by also ensuring that the supply and demand reduces, and also preventing young persons from having access to it. So if we're going to now be coming from that knowledge to what is happening today, it is something that we are all scared as to the steps that have been taken to this amendment when it comes to the bill for this year. Now, in terms of process for the bill, it's interesting to see the fact that the bill that was publicly presented at a hearing is different from what was presented at the House and what is about to be in assent in the President's office. And what that shows us is specifically the fact that the integrity of the bill has to be called into question, because there is no way a document that is presented to the public is totally different from the document that goes into the House and moves for the first and to the level of assent. And so coming from that aspect, I will need us to understand that. Yes.
So what does this bill actually seek
To change in our existing tobacco control law, and why are health organizations and civil society groups concerned about this proposed amendment?
An amendment is supposed to
Strengthen existing laws and not further open loopholes that will make it easy for, I would say, industries to have access and to get away with a lot of things that would in turn ensure that the environment's safety is at risk. And to be sincere with you also, the existing bill, yes, there is doors for amendment. However, the amendment is supposed to ensure that new products that are coming in, that are not initially mentioned as of the time that the act was actually put in place, are what we are trying to address, and not for us to weaken the existing laws that we have.
what provisions of this
Proposed amendment do you consider problematic?
Well, to start with,
Speaking to
The use of the word harm reduction. Yes, it's the style of the product that changed. It's not the content. Just because it's not the traditional tobacco that we are used to does not mean that the product itself is new so much that the addictive contents are no longer there and the harmful contents are no longer there. And it would be funny if we are the first country to actually use the word harm reduction when it comes to such products, because you wouldn't hear it being related to it anywhere else. Then another problematic aspect that I would like to bring to fore is the advertisement aspect. This new amendment is trying to give industries the opportunity to be able to advertise in publications and on online platforms,
okay.
which is one of the key things that the existing act stands against.
Okay.
Another problematic aspect,
which is glaring, is the fact that
we are now trying to make it available online sales services, even though with the mindset that it should only be sold to adults. But I'm sure we have all visited online platforms where they will ask you if you are 18 and above. And what do? If I press yes, the website has no way of knowing if I'm an adolescent or a child. And so, of course, I'll get my delivery. Those are some of the problems. And also moving away from that, it's also giving rooms for sponsorship by the industry. It's giving them room to be able to sponsor our cultural and recreational events, which indirectly they're already doing. For example, the Ojude Oba event and the use of all of these products that we've seen over the years that has increased and gets more attention. These are some of the problematic aspects. To further go into it, there are certain fines that industries are expected to pay. However, this new proposal is actually subpedaling on some of those fines and also giving the industry the go-ahead to be able to internally work on their own safety information that they put on this product. So if we're speaking specifically to all that I've mentioned, you would see that this is doing more harm than good and also weakens all the work that has been done over time to ensure that this particular product does not have the same effect in our society.
Have explained, laws and regulations are actually meant to guide us and of course make a lot of things easier and less harmful for us as individuals. What do you now propose can be done to ensure that, of course, we're speaking to our president and begging him, right?
Yes.
Please don't assent to this bill. What are you now proposing he should do to ensure that, of course, these loopholes are filled adequately?
Well, for starters,
There is a need for us to go back to drawing board and do a proper amendment that strengthens the existing law. One. Secondly, there is a need for us to take a good look at the coordination in terms of agencies that are supposed to be able to stand against even such process getting to the level that it did, which means we and other key agencies have a lot of work to do in terms of coming together to ensure due process. And also another thing that can be done is for funding to actually be increased in terms of ensuring tobacco control related issues are taken care of as at when due. And I say related issues because it goes beyond just having the act, the implementation aspect, empowering people to implement, and then awareness. People are not even aware of some of these laws, and even if they are aware, they don't even know what the implementation process should be, and they don't know how they come in as citizens to even protect their health, because you cannot trap hair. And so if someone beside you is doing it and you think, oh, I'm not the one doing it, that's secondhand smoking. And so you might actually be exposed to more compared to the person that is doing it. And so if we can be able to take these 3 steps, ensuring we do a proper amendment by stopping the assent of this currently proposed one, ensuring that there is proper coordination amongst agencies and key civil society organizations, and also backing it up with funding that are traceable, clear, and accountable, of course, will go a long way in ensuring that such does not happen again.
Okay. You've answered some part of this question, but just in case there's a point you have missed out, what aspects of the proposed amendment bill could undermine the existing tobacco control measures and weaken the protection of all of us as citizens?
Majority
of the aspects that they've strongly focused on is undermining every work that has been done in terms of tobacco control in the country. Because if we're going to be bringing back advertisement and giving permission for it, then it's going to be in front of all adolescents and young persons, and automatically it makes it normal. And whether we like it or not, majority of African societies, we do symbolic interactionism. You don't have to tell me it's okay, but as long as I see it and you're not saying anything about it, of course I feel like it's okay. And then if we're going to move from that, sampling indoors It means as I'm sitting here now, I can start smoking, and if you ask me, I'll tell you I'm sampling. So I can sample 10 to 20 packs of it, and it's still sampling indoors. You understand?
Yes.
And also, aside from that, if we are now explicitly having a law that says that events that are key to our heritage, to our lifestyle, it is okay for them to be a part of it, then automatically we have open room for it to be a norm, and it will be part of the values that people would see that we should live with.
Okay. We have been speaking with Dr. Bilques on the impact of Tobacco Control Amendment Bill on the general public. Well, we'll take a short break at this point, and when we come back, we will have with us Mr. Emmanuel Onwuka to continue our conversation. Please stay tuned.
Hi everyone, here are some practical tips on what you should do to avoid breast cancer.
Examine your breast on your birthday of each month. For instance, if you're born on the 12th of May, examine your breast every 12th of each month. Get familiar with the shape, the sizes, and the textures of your breast and nipple. Don't forget to check your armpits for lumps.
Reduce the intake of fried foods. The oils used to fry many fried foods release chemicals that can be harmful to your body.
Eat lots of vegetables. This contains the nutrients that your body needs to help fight off diseases.
Tooth and gum diseases have been linked to cancer, memory loss, heart diseases, dementia, and stroke. Make sure you brush at least twice a day, especially before you go to bed. If you can, floss regularly and have your teeth checked at least once every year.
Reduce your exposure to toxins by minimizing your use of hairsprays and deodorants containing aluminum and lead as much as possible.
Avoid smoking.
Exercise regularly, at least 3 times a week.
If you have babies, make sure you breastfeed exclusively for at least 6 months.
As women, you should avoid placing your smartphone in your breast pocket or inside your bra. Some believe that this will emit high levels of radiation which could lead to breast cancer and other forms of cancer. Secondly, you should avoid or limit your intake of highly processed foods, aka junk foods, as they contain toxins that are harmful to the body.
Welcome back from the break. We are still speaking about National Tobacco Control Amendment Bill 2025. And like I said, we'll have with us Mr. Emmanuel Onwuka. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you again.
Thank you.
So that's what the excitement is about. Continue our conversation from where Dr. Bilques left off. Beyond the proposed amendments, how can the government and relevant agencies enforce the existing tobacco control laws?
Okay, so one of the things I would like to mention is that tobacco control is not just for the tobacco control community. Many people, they feel, is this tobacco people? Meanwhile, it's a public health concern. It's not just for the tobacco control community. It's not just for NTCA, CAPA, and all of the CSOs that are fighting for tobacco control in Nigeria. So it's a public health concern. It affects me, it affects you, it affects our brothers, our sisters, our parents, and Nigerians in general. So it's high time the government, especially agencies that regulate products, agencies in charge of health, Ministry of Education, to come out and say public health is a major concern in Nigeria, which tobacco control is part of it. So this is not just about the bill. It's a public, like I had a conversation with a friend, and he saw my post about the bill on my WhatsApp status, and he said, Emmanuel, about tobacco is a legal product. And I said, yes, I'm not saying tobacco is not a legal product, but it doesn't mean we cannot regulate tobacco products. So as much as it is being consumed by Nigerians, it must be regulated. And that's why we ensure at all times that we push for everything that concerns tobacco control. So the government, CSOs, families, schools, ministries of health, and all of that should take this as a concern, and it's not just about the bill, but fighting tobacco industry interference in issues that concerns tobacco control is what we we are fighting for.
Okay, so I'm just going to break it down for the purpose of those viewing this program. When he says it's not just the business or affair of those who are policymakers who are fighting for this bill, pro and of course con, he means that it is you and I's business to ensure that our environment is safe. And when we say our environment is safe, Dr. Bilques was talking about second-hand smoker. Yeah. So imagine that Mr. Emmanuel is sitting here with a stick of cigarette or vape or shisha or whatever it is that he's consuming, and that content, as he takes it in, blows it into the air. You, your father, your mother, your child, your relative, whoever that person is exposed to this effect as a second-hand individual. You're not taking it, but you're inhaling the air that they are exhaling. So it affects you also as an individual. This is not me speaking on his behalf. This is me clearing the air and helping us to understand certain terminologies as used. Okay, so back to you, Mr. Emmanuel. What are the major challenges to enforcing Nigeria's existing tobacco control laws? And how can we actually make this possible? How do we address them?
Okay, so let me borrow from what my colleague mentioned. The adjustments we need in the current Tobacco Control Act should not give room to weaken the act totally. There are other aspects I'd like to mention, like in the current Tobacco Control Act, cigarettes must be sold in packs of 20. So if it is sold in packs of 20, it becomes very expensive to buy. You cannot buy one stick. If you must buy in packs of 20. And which makes it expensive and inaccessible. That means for you to smoke, you must spend. But the proposed amendment bill is saying that you can buy in packs of 5, which makes it more cheaper and affordable and accessible. So that is why it is really, really a concern. And also there is another clause in the amendment bill that, okay, let me start with the current act. The current act says health warnings must be in written form and, okay, you want to say something?
When you say current act, are we talking 2015?
Or we're talking 2025? Tobacco Control Act.
Okay.
Not the amended bill. So it says health warnings must be written in text and in graphics. But the proposed bill is saying it can be in any format. Now, this goes to say that the tobacco industry can decide to write it in just text. They can just write in bold text and make it 50% as required. Meanwhile, scientific observations have also let us understand that graphic images is very important because it is attractive, it can communicate health risks better, but the industry can say, okay, there's now provision to do text only, and decide to do only text, thereby eliminating the risks of those products. So there are so many concerns in that bill that we must not allow the president to assent.
So it is not about allowing him, it's about appealing to him not to consent
yes,
to it.
We are appealing to the president not to.
Okay, so we are appealing, it's an appeal. Okay, so how can this proposed legislation undermine Nigeria's tobacco control efforts? Of course, by giving newer nicotine products freedoms not enjoyed by conventional cigarettes.
So again, let me also borrow from my colleague. The amendment bill undermine tobacco control and public health in general. Imagine in the introduction of harm reduction objective in an act or in a bill. It therefore says you can take e-cigarettes. It therefore opens room for vaping and all of that. They use the phrase harm reduction to say that, don't worry, if you're trying to stop the real cigarette, you can take vape, you don't on your lighter, you don't smoke it, it is non-combustible and all of that. The introduction of harm reduction, the phrase, will make it more easier and acceptable to all of these e-cigarettes. So everything about the amended bill, although there are some provisions in the amended bill that tries to improve on the previous, on the current one, but it does not add any value or help edit or upgrade the one we have on ground already.
Okay.
So what role should the health authorities, of course, civil society organizations like yourself and other stakeholders play in protecting and strengthening tobacco control measures and, of course, ensuring compliance to these laws?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to
say that we are yet to get an information from the Ministry of Health, a public statement on their stand on the bill. Yes, we need a public statement to say we are not aware or we are in support. We were also part of the drafting of the bill. We need that statement from the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. We also need those our regulatory agencies to say if they were part of the drafting of the amendment bill. We need those stands, public statement, not in-house statement. They should clarify their stand so we know who wrote the bill, when was the bill written, and all of that. And it's worrisome to state that, just like my colleague mentioned, November 22nd, 2024, the bill was presented in the House. But what we got as a copy is totally different from what was presented in the House. So who wrote this bill? Where did they write the bill? And all of so we need all of those information. And we're also appealing to other CSO, Cancer Society, youth group, all the civil society organizations to come in one voice to say, President Tinubu, please don't assent to this bill, because if it does, again, the battle will be tougher for us.
Okay, just a question. Is it possible to follow up by way of writing? Because there must be a channel of communication amongst all of you as, what do you call them? Contributors to this fight. Civil society organization, the Ministry of Health, and all its partners. Is there a way that you have communicated to all these people to say, we need to hear from you, we need to come together, we need to speak about this matter and see where we are, so that everybody is fighting on the same level, not against each other? Have you reached out?
We issued a press statement some week ago, and it was signed by over 100 CSOs. So it's not just Nigeria Tobacco Control Alliance. Other members of the alliance also append their signature on the press statement. So we have over 100 CSOs. So we have a group of people that are in one voice.
That's very good. It means that all of you are working together for the same cause. Okay. What should we expect, that as Nigerians, from a strong tobacco control framework? And why is it important that any amendment to this law actually strengthens it rather than weaken the already existing bill?
Okay, so just like it was mentioned,
the Tobacco Control Data Initiative, a report from that initiative says that about 30,000 people die annually from tobacco-related sicknesses. So it's already a concern. We have an act that is trying to help fight the health burden of tobacco consumption in Nigeria, and we are trying to fight it, and are bringing another one to undermine the fight we are already struggling. And we've made progress for about 10 years. Of course, it's not massive, but we are making progress. So we should not come up with a bill that will tarnish all the work we've been doing. So we are appealing even to our fellow Nigerians, young persons, don't allow the tobacco industry to come up with different tactics to sway you into smoking. At the end of the day, they are not interested in your swag, in that big ball you're doing. They are interested in the profits they make. They don't care if you will die tomorrow. And they are more concerned about young people, because the older people are dying and people are becoming more aware of their tactics. So don't feel that smoking, vape, shisha makes you a big boy, makes you one of the guys in the society. No, at the end of the day, they are after the profit and not your well-being.
We have been speaking about the National Tobacco Control Amendment Bill 2025. Mr. Emmanuel, before I let you go, what's your call to action, your final words for today?
Okay, so we are calling on
Civil society organizations, we are calling on youth groups, we are calling on religious leaders,
we are calling on traditional leaders,
we are calling on schools, the ministries, agencies to come together to appeal to the president that he should not assent to that bill because that will undermine public health, and the rate at which smoking and tobacco consumption would increase would affect everyone. So please, let's come together to appeal to the president that please don't assent to this bill.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Dr. Bilques, for being with us today, and of course, Mr. Emmanuel, both from the National Tobacco Control Alliance, for taking us through the content of the bill and of course our responsibilities towards our well-being and the environment at large. We can't go without saying thank you to you, all our esteemed viewers, for staying tuned to ASO TV channel 392. Remember to join us again next week for another enlightening edition of the program. I remain Lami Agbavubo. Please follow, subscribe, like, and share our YouTube page at ASO Radio and TV. Thank you, and remember to stay healthy for us and for your loved ones.